Coming up on today's Profiles in Leadership program, Dennis Damaris heads up the gathering, leading men with a mission of iron sharpening iron. Dr. Andrea Hazim profiles Laura McKinney, a Penn State broadcast major and already a board member of the Caring House Foundation, on tomorrow's Leaders Today. And Karen Granger, with a heart for building community, turned around business in the city of Delray Beach, serving the past 6 years as the president of the Chamber of Commerce.
Delray Beach is the perfect destination, featuring a bustling downtown of trendy shops and gourmet restaurants, vibrant arts district, and scenic vistas. Home to world-class tennis tournaments, pristine golf courses, and award-winning beaches, this oceanfront community is rich in history and cultural diversity. Delray Beach is truly an unforgettable experience, and we invite you to enjoy the warmth of our climate and the hospitality of our people. Delray Beach, Florida's village by the sea.
Big Shots, NFL comforters, pillows, and blankets featuring your favorite NFL superstars.
Hey, Big Shot. Dreams can come true. Big Shots, it's beyond the game. Check us out at bigshots.com. That's Big Shots with 2 G's.
Every year, 3,000 kids are removed from their homes right here in South Florida due to child abuse or neglect. Many of these children enter foster care and shuffle from home to home. 4 Kids has provided hope to over 20,000 children and is committed to finding a loving home for every child. Children deserve a place to belong, where they can begin to heal and, like me, even thrive. Learn how you can support 4 Kids of South Florida.
Profiles in Leadership, Palm Beach and beyond. I'm Carl Foster with a very special guest, a good longtime friend, Dennis Damaris, and he runs The Gathering. Iron sharpening iron is what it's all about. I've attended several of the events and just great programs that The Gathering has, but Dennis has also been running Florida Men of Integrity and has been involved with leadership, but he really has a heart for equipping men. And Dennis, welcome to Profiles in Leadership, and it's really a pleasure to have you here. I know you had a Bible study this morning with a group of men, and you're just, every time I talk to you, you're worshiping with men all over the county. So it's awesome to see what you're doing.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I left a car dealership where we have a Bible study, and I came here.
Well, that's good. So at least you had transportation. So that's a good thing, right?
That's true.
Talk about your background a little bit and just when you felt touched to work with men, to equip men, and maybe that leadership tap that say, you know what, this is something that I feel God calling me to do.
Well, I think it started with my father, but my dad was a military man, and so we moved around from several bases. I lived in the South, every southern state but Louisiana, Mississippi, and over in Europe. And primarily that was because my brother has cerebral palsy. And so we would move from base to base wherever a surgeon could help him.
Oh, okay.
And so just that environment of being real gung-ho family, my father really set the tone, but then moving from base to base and being in that military atmosphere. And I, of course, was the prodigal son, so I always challenged my drill sergeant father. But I think that was the environment. Then I came to know Christ at 20 years old. And right away I had a couple men during that time period from 20 to 23 years old that just as a young man wanted to invest in me. And one was of course, for the military when he was younger, but he worked with FP&O and swam the swamps and laid telephone poles. And then another one was a Vietnam vet who was wheelchair bound. And they just spent, they spent my early 20s with me, investing in me. And both of them having a military background, but also having the ability to punch a 20-year-old in the chest and say, man up and be better was so rewarding. And I think that's when I really caught the love of men in the community, my responsibility, and also, of course, I grew in my relationship with Christ. And so that, of course, set a whole different standard for me. And I had a pastor that let me serve and gave me an opportunity at my church to reach out to men. And so that's kind of where it all started, I think.
Dennis, you went to Palm Beach Atlantic, Florida native, and I can relate to the military background. I went in the military, spent 7 years in the military, and there's something about military leadership that you either get or you learn the hard way. Because, especially growing up in a military family, you had to be around some strong leadership and leading men, obviously, for the most part, in that style. Florida Men of Integrity, and I know, I think that's the first time I met you when you were involved in putting on events with my friend Jack Levine and some others, and just going around the state and doing conferences for men. And just, I know you've seen many men come to Christ through your work, through Florida Men of Integrity, and now a natural step with the gathering. And how important is it today for men to be discipled by other men?
Well, I think primarily it's been important since the inception of time. I think that one of the things that again I've learned and I've seen even growing up myself, but also talking to generations of people, is men influence men in a phenomenal way, or also in a unique way that women in our lives don't necessarily do that. I also see the biblical example, of course, of Jesus taking his disciples and spending time with them, and I think there's just an interesting dynamic when men take time to relate to one another professionally and personally.
To talk about, I see you brought your money with you. I got to show this here.
Oh yeah, my big nickel.
He brought his big nickel here, so you don't have to pay to be on the show. I mean, but talk about some of the projects with the gathering, because you've got some unique things, even working with young men, with first-time dads. And I remember the first time there's no manual when so we're gonna have a baby and say, all right, now what? Just talk about the different programs that the gathering offers to men.
The gathering is a 28-year-old ministry to men in the marketplace and beyond. Palm Beach County, we've been here 27 years. Originally it started in Houston, and we're the second oldest chapter. We're kind of like Youth for Christ on steroids, I guess, if you recall.
Right.
But we've been here in Palm Beach County. Great ministry. It's really primarily to men in the marketplace. The idea really is men that come to faith in Christ need to be encouraged and can be encouraged in their walk with Christ, to be all that God would have them to be.
And a lot of business leaders too.
Yeah,
professionally
and personally.
Professional and personal.
Yeah,
right?
and of course, statistically, we see that some men they get to a point in their life where they worship regularly with a congregation, local congregation, but that's maybe once a week, or twice a month, statistically. And so, what do they do Monday through Saturday when the boots hit the ground? So we as a ministry, we as a business, have designed our organization around 5 key areas that men potentially find significant in their life. You mentioned fatherhood. That's one of our most successful programs. We have 6 hospitals countywide that let us come in and offer a 3-hour camp called Boot Camp for New Dads. And that is prenatal care class.
Wow.
And last year we saw 350 men go through that. And we have volunteer coaches that are a little bit younger than me. I'm kind of a dinosaur, and I teach them a curriculum called Boot Camp for New Dads. Right. And we go into the hospitals and we basically just encourage men during that time period in their lives. And usually during fatherhood, men make significant changes in their lives. Not a faith-based program, right, but it has allowed us to basically influence men and families in the community we live in. And then the other primary ways that we try to impact men and their families, of course, and in the community, is, you mentioned the nickel. We try to get men that are believers to consider praying for their pastors and to consider church. So that's one of the ways, called a nickel prayer defense. That's
that was one. Nickel prayer, yeah.
But it's just.
Do you need change or no? I got my 2 cents. That's about it.
That's it,
right?
That's it. But don't you change, though.
Yeah, no. Do not change. Right.
But we try to encourage men that are followers of Christ to consider getting involved in local church and praying for their pastors. That's one of the programs that we do. The other thing is, we realize that relationships are important. The men that date and that marry and that are in relationships, of course, the women that come in and out of their lives impact them greatly, professionally and personally. Right. So we try to provide resources for couples and relationship enrichment. And the other 2 primary things we do is we have marketplace settings, primarily, where men gather and they consider what it means to be an authentic man. Right. And we have
a secular business.
And we have a curriculum that we offer for those men, and basically they meet in boardrooms, coffee houses, cigar shops,
Right.
Just out in the marketplace.
Car dealerships.
Car dealerships,
Right.
where I was this morning.
Yeah, okay.
And so what happened? There's 22 groups that are countywide, all the way from Jupiter out west to Royal Palm, Loxahatchee, all the way down to Boca and in between. And we have right now about 230 men that go to those weekly.
Yeah, I've been to some myself. Yeah,
And it's a
absolutely.
great way, small groups for men to be encouraged. And the curriculum basically covers being an authentic man, being a man in the marketplace, being a man on mission, being a man in his marriage, being a man in his workplace. In fact, tomorrow I'm teaching on 6 catalysts that will affect your workplace in that setting. Right. And that's going to be held at a church, actually. We have some churches that host us, but primarily it's marketplace settings. Then the last thing we do is what we've been doing, every gathering city does. Right. We do a men's breakfast. And that's where we meet in the Kravis Center here in West Palm Beach down.
Yeah, you've had great guests in those breakfasts. I've been to several with, really top-notch speakers, and we could talk about those for another half hour.
Yeah.
But we're running out of time right now, Dennis. But men, iron sharpening iron. You need to get with the gathering because there's a program for you. And just attend the breakfast, attend the settings. If you're a new dad, there's all kind of programs.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate the short time we had together here today in Profiles in Leadership. And you're a great leader of men out there, Dennis. So we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Carl.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. God bless. Dennis DeMaris from The Gathering on Profiles in Leadership.
Big Shots, NFL comforters, pillows, and blankets featuring your favorite NFL superstars.
Hey, Big Shot. Dreams can come true. Big Shots. It's beyond the game. Check us out at bigshots.com. That's Big Shots with 2 G's.
Every year, 3,000 kids are removed from their homes right here in South Florida due to child abuse or neglect. Many of these children enter foster care and shuffle from home to home. 4 Kids has provided hope to over 20,000 children and is committed to finding a loving home for every child. Children deserve a place to belong, where they can begin to heal and, like me, even thrive. Learn how you can support 4 Kids of South Florida.
Hi, welcome to Tomorrow's Leaders Today. I am Dr. Handrea Hazim, and today my guest is Laura McKinney.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. I love to highlight millennials, which is why we're calling this segment Tomorrow's Leaders Today, because it's really about millennials, my favorite peeps. So we're going to talk about you as a leader, a young leader. I would love you to just take a minute and tell a little bit about you, include your age, so the audience knows who we're talking to.
Okay, well, I'm 18 years old. I'm going to be a sophomore at the Pennsylvania State University.
Wow.
I love it there so far. And I got involved with student government with them right off the bat.
Smart.
But it was not always like that. In 6th grade, I decided I was going to run for representative, and that's where it all started. But
Wow.
I lost. I was nervous. I gave my speech, but I got a little itch for leadership then. And I knew, hey, I can get a message across to people. I can do this. And so I ran again in 7th grade, 8th grade, all through high school,
Wow.
and then now in college.
Well, I like how you said you got an itch for leadership.
Yes.
Talk about that. What was that thing, and what did you see come about in your life because of it?
I think the fact that as a leader, you can speak to other people and portray a message that they can listen to and help change their lives for the better, that's what made me want to do it.
Isn't that exciting?
Yes, absolutely.
I am all about that.
Yes.
And now fast forward to college. Tell us about your experience with student government and being a leader on a college campus, which is no easy thing.
Yes.
Today's college campuses are crazy,
Absolutely.
as you know.
Yeah, I mean, my school's big. And I came from a very small school in South Florida, and I went to a very large school in the Northeast. And it was a big change. And to be interacting with so many different types of people was a very healthy thing. And I got to see so many different perspectives of the world and through their eyes. And to be able to take other people's leadership skills and interpret them to be my own and be able to portray that out was definitely a big asset for me.
Well, that's wisdom when you can learn from other people and apply it to your life. So I know you're a leader on the college campus, but I also know that you're a leader off the college campus, and you're working with a ministry.
Yes, the Caring House Project Foundation was founded in 1998, and I'm a board member of it.
Wow, a board member.
Yes.
You're 18 and you're a board member.
Yes, ma'am.
See why I love young people?
And my role as a board member is to kind of head up the orphanages.
Wow.
So I oversee making sure we get them school supplies, backpacks, toys, get them taken care of. And it's all worth it when we go visit. We do our work mainly in Haiti. And when we go visit and we get to see the smiles on their faces and just the pure joy, there's just nothing like it.
Wow. So how did you end up being a board member at such a young age?
Well, my parents actually started the charity in 1998,
Okay.
and I've just kind of observed them. And my dad is one of the most amazing people I know. He does whatever is right, even if it's unpopular, and he's not afraid to stand out. And I think that's something I took away from him. And my mom, on the other hand, is the most hardworking, persistent woman, and she will always get the job done. So a mix of those two is my goal in life. And from watching them in the charity, and then they asked me to move up and be a board member, it was my honor to carry on the tradition and hopefully carrying it on for years to come.
I'm so impressed. I mean, I know a lot of parents and teens, and I don't think many parents would have the kind of confidence in their teens to put them in such a position of leadership as you. And I love how you honor your parents with talking about their strengths. So you are a young leader who can recognize strengths in others. What would you say is your greatest strength?
I think I'm still developing my strengths since I'm only 18, but I think something that I really do enjoy and like to try to practice is listening to people. I'm actually an aspiring broadcast journalist, so I'm used to being in your seat, so this is new for me. But definitely the art of listening is becoming a lost art, and it is something that I believe my generation needs to kind of hone in on a little bit and just learn to listen, because we can learn so much by simply doing that.
So what are some tips to learn how to be a good listener? Now, I don't know the audience's demographics, how many are young in the bracket you're talking about, but everybody needs to learn to be a good listener.
Right.
So,
And I think it's just centering your humility and realizing no matter how high you get, to always keep your feet on the ground. And I think that can go universally for all age groups.
wow. No matter how high you get, meaning your success,
Yes.
your wealth, your whatever
Yes.
you would say as you've reached the top of the ladder,
Yes,
to keep your
absolutely.
feet on the ground. So that's an amazing trait to have as a leader, and being a servant leader. And obviously you love serving. You're working with orphans even.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that. What is it like when you go interact with these orphanages, and how have you seen your leadership take on different dimensions maybe you didn't expect by doing that kind of work?
Yeah, I think by just going there and being a leader and showing the other people around me that it's okay to go up and hug these orphans. They just want love. They just want to be talked to, and not to always be, the head honcho. Just be at their level, just be human. That's all it is. At the end of the day, it's just to be a human. We're all the same.
Yeah, well, you use that word humility.
Yes.
And being human and feet on the ground, and it really shows a lot about your character and the heart that you have, which I sense very sweet, humble spirit. So you're definitely walking your talk.
Thank you.
What have been some of the greatest challenges that you faced, though? Like one of maybe the hardest, and we have time for maybe just this quick answer,
Yeah.
but one of the hardest things that you've had to overcome in stepping into leadership?
I think for me, I always struggling with saying no. And it's important to be able to say no sometimes, because if you overload your plate as a leader, you're not as effective. So I'm a big believer in saying yes to experiences in life, always saying yes to those. But with tasks, it's important to manage them so you can get the job done effectively.
Well, Laura McKinney, you are a wise young leader, and
you.
it's been my privilege to talk to you today and get to know you a little bit more.
Thank you.
I'm Dr. Andrea Hazim, and this is Tomorrow's Leader Today.
Delray Beach is the perfect destination, featuring a bustling downtown of trendy shops and gourmet restaurants, vibrant arts district, and scenic vistas. Home to world-class tennis tournaments, pristine golf courses, and award-winning beaches, this oceanfront community is rich in history and cultural diversity. Delray Beach is truly an unforgettable experience, and we invite you to enjoy the warmth of our climate and the hospitality of our people. Delray Beach, Florida's village by the sea.
Every year, 3,000 kids are removed from their homes right here in South Florida due to child abuse or neglect. Many of these children enter foster care and shuffle from home to home. 4 Kids has provided hope to over 20,000 children and is committed to finding a loving home for every child. Children deserve a place to belong, where they can begin to heal and, like me, even thrive. Learn how you can support 4 Kids of South Florida.
Profiles in Leadership, Palm Beach and beyond. Carl Foster with a very good friend who's really been involved in ministry, but also very involved with business. And that's what it's all about. Running the Delray Beach Chamber of Commerce. She's a PR person, she's an author, she's a writer, she's a speaker, and she's done leadership events. So just a perfect time to really mix all this together, Karen, after you've just stepped down from the Delray Beach Chamber, and now you're looking to see, what is God calling you to do now? Let me ask you that for God. What do you feel you're called to do right now that you've had a great run with the Delray Beach Chamber? We'll talk about that experience, but where are you right now? What do you want to do?
Oh, well, I just want to serve and be connected with people. I love speaking. I love writing. Love leadership events. So I'm delighted to be here with you today. I feel like I kind of poured out my life and did all that I could do with that position. So now I'm looking forward to seeing what God calls me to next,
Well, running a Chamber of Commerce, obviously you had some challenges there. How did that come to be, and what were some of your, being a strong Christian and running your faith in a city with politicians and politics and people of all denominations?
Yeah.
I'm sure there were a few challenges there.
Yeah. Well, first, how I got called to that position, to answer your first question, I have a background as a publicist, a media person.
Okay.
I love working with media, and I actually went to the chamber thinking I was going to be their communications director, and quickly found myself in a role of vice president. And when there was a change of leadership there at the chamber, the board looked to me at first really just to be polite. Would you like to be the CEO? And I'm like, no, I don't think so. But as they were trying to figure out who they wanted to lead in the next chapter, because chambers are all 90, 100 years old. In Delray Beach, I was the 5th CEO in 93 years.
Wow, that's a long run.
It's I really felt like God called me to it, because we were having difficulty thinking, what type of a CEO did we want next? Do you want someone that's government affairs? Do you want a fundraiser, marketing, or whatever? And it just kind of all came together like a divine appointment, and I knew that's where God wanted me at that time, because it just came to be in such a crazy way.
Right. And you've been involved with LeaderCast, some other leadership events. When did you feel a tap for leadership that you wanted to lead people? As you were growing up, or you're getting involved with your career and figuring out where you were going to be, what you wanted to do, but you're involved in PR and so forth. But when did you feel that leadership tap and your philosophy of saying, I feel I can lead people?
I felt a tap on my life as a kid. In middle school, I wanted to run for a class president, and I lost. And then in high school, I was very involved with Young Life, which is an outreach for high school kids. And I really just loved being active in the school. And through Young Life, I got the confidence to run for a class president and to be a leader. And I think being surrounded by other youth ministry people that kind of encouraged me to step out and lead, that's really when I had that original call on my life, I think, through Young Life in high school.
What about the culture of leadership today? I mean, today we're talking about tomorrow's leaders today, and we're talking about the millennials, but we're talking about the next generation as well. Where do you feel the culture is today in leadership, and what style of leadership are we in need of? And servant leadership obviously is something that we strive for.
I think the more we can talk about servant leadership, the better when it comes to business positions and those political positions we talked about. I find that today's culture on the local level and on the national level is so tough. And, we all go out and say we shouldn't bully, and we tell kids not to bully, but I see a very tough culture with grown-ups in local and national politics. And I feel like the more we can rise up and encourage people to love and serve with kindness and grace, and kind of break through some of the negativity, the better we'll be.
Right. And you talked about Willow Creek earlier, and you were involved with a lot of the different leaders. Is there a leader that you've sort of patterned your style against, or somebody that really stuck out and said, this changed my attitude or my career or changed my life or transformed my leadership styles? Is there somebody
Oh,
that
for sure,
is
for
your
sure.
favorite?
Well, I have a personal mentor, Dr. Bill Eichhoff, who has mentored me and has used John Maxwell material.
Yes,
So I
no Dr.
really appreciate all of that material. I love, at this point in my life, I'm actually reading a Bill Hybels book, and I've followed him like for many, many years. I'm reading his Simplify book.
Simplify, very good
And
book.
that's all about, as leaders, I'm in a big stage where, I've been overwhelmed, overscheduled, overtaxed, and the book is all about, as leaders, how do we refuel ourselves and protect ourselves from burnout, really. So between the Maxwell material and Bill Hybels, those are two of my favorites.
All good stuff. As a woman leader, not being a woman, I don't know the challenges of a woman leader, but leading men. What are some of the challenges that women face that maybe men don't, in leadership roles?
That's a really good question. That comes my way a lot because I was the first female CEO in 93 years of the Delray Beach Chamber.
Wow. Oh, the old guys network.
And, yeah,
You came in and
there's
shook
a
it
lot
up.
of talk about that, and women leadership. I hear both sides. I hear people say, why do we even talk about the difference between men and women as leaders? Because it should just all be the same. And I get that school of thought, but what I feel like as a woman and as a leader, I feel like it's really important that women are able to gather because we communicate differently than men, and I still think there's a need for like women's leadership groups and summits and conferences.
I hear both sides. I want
Yeah.
to interrupt, but segregation. I've talked to women who said, no, we don't want our own leadership group.
Yeah.
We want to be with the men. We want to be
Yeah.
on equal basis. But I just talked to the gathering, and men are sharpening iron with men
Yeah.
and having men's meetings. Why can't women have different meetings with women
Yeah.
and not say, okay, we don't want to be segregated? So
Yeah.
I heard two schools of thought at my last
Yeah.
event of saying, why are you just
Right.
focusing on women only? We want to be with the men.
Yeah, I'm a true believer that both are needed.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like both are needed. I think there needs to be opportunity for men and women to come together and grow as leaders together. But I also feel like there is a great need, I have found in the church world and in the business world. I know that women love to be together and they talk a certain way and connect in a certain way, and the men might talk and connect in a different way. So I really appreciate both.
Well, that's good. Well, I appreciate you spending some time with us here today. Great job with the Delray Beach Chamber. I've been in Delray a
Thank
long
you.
time myself, so you've done a great job there in the business community. And so I'm looking forward to your leadership skills now and where God's calling you with your
Thank
faith and
you.
your business leadership.
Yeah.
It's a great combination. That's what Profiles in Leadership is all about. So
Thank you so
thanks for coming
much.
in. So Karen Granger here on Profiles in Leadership, Palm Beach and beyond. Next week on Profiles in Leadership, Michael Altschuler, from American Gladiator to motivational speaker and sales coach to his vision of the Believe and Achieve Tour. Dr. Andrea Hazim profiles Nick Barcelona, an eye for the creative as a graphics designer, but a heart for street evangelism on tomorrow's Leaders Today. And Kelly Merbler, a top executive with Apple One, building an audience as a John Maxwell certified speaker and strength-finding coach.